Hey, how's it going? Trent Goodbody, Freedom from Government here. Uh, I got a couple questions for you guys. Um, how many of you out there travel without a license? Would you consider traveling without a license if the legislature passed a law saying that you didn't need one to travel to the store or to church or to work? How many of you would not do so until this new law was approved by the president or the Pope? I got another question out there. How many people smoke pot? Do you think that the new legislation legalizing pot in quite a few states across the country was done overnight or happened by itself? Or did it take people fighting to get that to happen? Now, I like to go way past statutes and legislation. I know that doesn't even apply to me unless I am a public servant. But how many more of you would feel comfortable traveling if it were legal? You see, free people have a common law and constitutional right to travel on the roads and highways that are provided by their government for that purpose. Licensing of drivers cannot be required of free people because taking on the restrictions of a license requires a surrender of an unalienable right, or inalienable, whatever you want to say, they're the same. You can't take them away. Where rights secured by the Constitution of the United States and the state of any state are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation that would abrogate these rights. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted to a crime. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon an individual because of this exercise of constitutional rights. Well, back in 2010, I think I already said this, Georgia had an act that they were taking small steps to reverse a part of the tyranny that Americans have taken for granted. We do have a right to travel, and that right doesn't go away just because the government hasn't recognized it or enumerated it or said that it's granted it to us. It's still our right. It wasn't given to us by government. Government can't take it away. So, all of you out there that are committing fraud through contracting with the state for a driver's license when you're not acting in a commercial capacity on the roads, you can keep doing it if you want, but just know that you're acting in fraud. That's all there is to it. Because unless you make your living on the road, then it's not necessary. And I know people will argue with me all day long about this, but I don't care what any book says or any rules say or any laws say. I don't have to follow anything but what I know is morally correct. And I know that there shouldn't be people making money off of registration fees and licensing fees for just traveling. I mean, and they're gonna start doing this thing where they charge you by the mile. Coming up, nothing's gonna be free. So I want to read this act that Georgia had and was going to pass in. Well, I got to the second reading. It didn't pass, but why would it? A lot of people stand to lose a lot of money if by driver's license registrations. So, to amend Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to motor vehicles and traffic. Traffic is always commercial, by the way. So as to repeal Chapter 5 relating to driver's licenses, provide for a short title to report the findings of the General Assembly regarding the constitutionality of certain laws relating to driver's licenses, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and other purposes. Be it enacted by the General Assembly of Georgia. This Act, Section 1, this Act shall be known and may be cited as the Right to Travel Act. Section 2, the General Assembly finds that 1. The free people have a common law and constitutional right to travel on the roads and highways that are provided by their government for that purpose. Licensing of drivers cannot be required of free people because taking on the restrictions of a license requires a surrender of an inalienable right. Let that one sink in. 2. In England in 1215, the right to travel was enshrined in Article 42 of the Magna Carta. It shall be lawful to any person for the future to go out of our kingdom and to return safely and securely by land or by water, saving his allegiance to us, unless it be in time of war, for some short space, for the common good of the kingdom, excepting prisoners and outlaws, according to the laws of the land, and the people of the nation at war against us, and merchants who shall be treated as it is said above. Notice how there is an exception for merchants. 3. Where rights secured by the Constitution of the United States and the state of Georgia are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation that would abrogate these rights. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted to a crime. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon an individual because of his exercise of constitutional rights. 4. American citizens have the inalienable right to use the roads and highways unrestricted in any manner as long as they are not damaging or violating property or rights of others. The government, by requiring the people to obtain driver's licenses, is restricting and therefore violating the people's common law and constitutional right to travel. 5. In Shapiro v. Thompson, 394 U.S. 618, 1969, Justice Potter Stewart noted in a concurring opinion that the right to travel is a right broadly assertable against private interference as well as government action. Like the right of association, it is virtually unconditional personal right guaranteed by the Constitution to us all. The Articles of Confederation had an explicit right to travel, and we hold that the right to travel is so fundamental that the framers thought it was necessary to include it in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. The right to travel upon the public highways is not a mere privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which every citizen has under his or her right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under this constitutional guarantee, one may therefore, under normal conditions, travel at his or her inclination along the public highways or in public places while conducting himself or herself in an orderly and decent manner, and 7, thus the legislature does not have the power to abrogate the citizen's right to travel upon the public roads by passing legislation forcing the citizen to waive the right and convert that right to privilege. Let me read that over again. 7, thus the legislature does not have the power to abrogate the citizen's right to travel upon the public roads by passing legislation forcing the citizen to waive the right and convert that right to a privilege. Do you know what that just said? It's admitting that the legislature does not have the power to abrogate your right to travel upon the public roads by passing legislation forcing the citizen to waive the right and convert that right into a privilege. Is that the third time I read it? Did it sink in? The legislature does not have the power to abrogate the citizen's right to travel upon public roads by passing legislation forcing the citizen to waive the right and convert that right into a privilege. But the fourth time I read it, do you know what it means? It means just what it says. They don't have the power to take away our right to travel on public roads by passing legislation forcing us to waive that right and converting it into a privilege. They don't have the right. They can't legalize it because it's illegal to begin with. Do you understand what I'm saying? Section 3. Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to motor vehicles and traffic, is amended by repealing Chapter 5 relating to driver's license and is designating said chapter as reserved. Section 4 of this act shall become effective as upon its approval by the governor upon becoming law. Without such approval, Section 5, all laws and parts of law in conflict with this act are repealed. This never made it. Why would it? They stand way too much to lose if they pass a law guaranteeing or reaffirming your right to travel. How's this going to change? Well, it's going to change little by little, and it's going to be the information that does it. And the ridiculous amount of people that are going to jail for non-victim crimes. That's all I have to say this time. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.